Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 436 based on novel. So let's start. Wang Lin had only created 3 spells in his 2000 years of cultivation. Sundered Night was extremely powerful, but the Law of Origin was too rare. Only at the moment of daybreak could he use the spell without expending his own origin energy. Even with Wang Lin's current cultivation level, if he wanted to use Sundered Night by force, he would have to change the space and planet around him to reach the proper time of day. He had to be extremely cautious when doing this. As for flowing time, although it was inferior to Sundered Night in terms of power, the law of time was not something that could be resisted. Time was everything and invisible, it was comparable to the heavens. Wang Lin's third spell was comprehended after he was seriously injured in the battle against Daoist Water. On the border of death, Wang Lin had entered the extremely mysterious Dao realm inside the heaven-defying bead. Even now he wasn't sure what the Dao realm was. Inside the Dao realm, 2 spells appeared inside Wang Lin's mind. The first was the spell that seriously injured the All-Seer and was the life-saving spell of an 8-star ancient god, Dream of Ancient Times. The second was the first Dao spell he had encountered, the Dao Scatter spell used by the old man in the 7-colored realm. These 2 spells were extremely powerful and were deeply engraved inside Wang Lin's memory. In the 10 years Wang Lin had spent in the Dao realm, he had comprehended the shocking power of Dream of Ancient Times and Dao Scatter. Dream of Ancient Times was an ancient god spell, so it couldn't be used like a cultivator's spell, even though Wang Lin was an ancient god. However, in Wang Lin's life, danger and fortune coexisted. The Scatter Dao spell used by the old man in the 7-colored realm had opened door to Dao spells for Wang Lin. However, this spell was simply too magnificent. Normally, Wang Lin wouldn't be able to comprehend it, but borrowing the Dao realm, Wang Lin had used great perseverance and persistence to fuse the 2 into Dream Dao. Back in the Cloud Sea, outside the demon sect, Wang Lin had merely tested it on the Heaven's Blight Elder. If Wang Lin hadn't pointed it out, the Elder's Dao heart would have collapsed and died. Dream Dao, although it sounds complicated, it was actually a type of inner demon. It would turn the other party's Dao intent into an inner demon and use it to destroy their Dao heart. Even cultivators that didn't cultivate Dao had an inner demon. That inner demon was Wang Lin. Dao spells were an extremely mysterious spells. Even third-step cultivators didn't have many of them. Just having one was already very lucky. Even someone as powerful as Dao Master Blue Dream only had a few. Dream Dao could bring one back to their past. Although it couldn't scatter one's Dao like the spell of the old man in the 7-colored realm, Wang Lin could plant a fake memory. This fake memory would exist forever in their mind and become real. This was planting an inner demon. That breath of air from Wang Lin's mouth was Wang Lin's Dao essence, which entered the Emperor Furnace. Master Simo looked at the shadow behind him and was shocked. This shadow had accompanied him for tens of thousands of years and was part of his life. However, this figure had never said a single word. She should have died. It was an intense pain in his heart. The white silk scroll was something she had carried, and that blood had been coughed out by Master Simo due to his own grief and indignation. Master Simo's body trembled and his expression changed when he heard those words. He was stunned on the spot and completely forgot about the beast bone in his hand. He forgot to place his palm on it. The nail-sized fire between his eyebrows shined even more violently. "Little sister? Is it you? Is it you talking?" Master Simo stared at the female shadow, and his vision gradually blurred. Big brother, quickly come and see. A bunch of purple orchids grew here. Big brother, don't sleep all the time. You promised to play with me today. Big brother. In the Cloud Sea star system, on a continent in a mortal village, a 7 or 8-year-old girl was pouting as she pushed a sleeping boy next to her. "Little Lan, let me sleep a bit more. Last night I went with Little Tiger and them to steal some eggs, so I'm very tired." The boy was a bit older. After opening his eyes to mutter a few words, he went back to sleep. Time seemed to move and years passed. "Big brother, Tiger bullied me today. He secretly kissed me. On the village patch, a teenage boy and teenage girl walked under the sunset. The teenage boy had a medicine basket behind his back. As he walked, he was yawning. The girl next to him was wearing a flowered dress and looked around 13 or 14 years old. She was holding a stalk of grass in her hand, and as she spoke, she tugged at the grass. The girl stared at the boy and loudly said, "Big brother, are you listening?" I heard. Little Lan, father and mother are no longer around. Tiger's aunt has been good to us this year. Tiger isn't a bad person and you're not young anymore. How about you marry him?" The teenager boy yawned as he looked at his little sister next to him. "You? How is there a brother like you? I bet like big sister Hong Hong, and you want me to marry her little brother so you can have a chance with her. I don't have a brother like you." The girl stamped her feet and looked at the boy. The boy's face turned red and he laughed as he changed the topic to distract the girl. Not long after, the two laughed as they walked further away. Time passed once more and youth had passed by. Big brother, big sister Hong Hong has someone she likes. The girl was now 16 and was blooming like a beautiful flower. At this moment, the young girl looked at the weak young man before her and spoke softly. The young man's body was thin, he wasn't tall and his complexion was a bit dark, as if he was sick. However, his eyes were bright like a spark in a maiden's heart. Over the years, the young girl knew that although her big brother wouldn't say it, he had actually been very good to her. As long as she liked something, a big brother would do whatever it took to get it for her. The young man smiled. His teeth were very white and his spirit seemed a lot better. After he heard the girl's words, his right hand touched his sister's hair and he softly said, "Don't think too much, your brother isn't so fragile. Your big brother's dream is to become an immortal. After you and Tiger get married, big brother is going to seek out a sect to join." The young girl's face turned red and she whispered, "Tiger is very annoying. I already told him before that if big sister Hong Hong doesn't marry you, then I won't marry him." The young man smiled and revealed a tender gaze. He whispered, "You have grown up and will soon be a woman, so don't throw a temper like a child. Big brother's dream is really to become an immortal. I don't want to live the rest of my life in this dull place." The young man raised his head and looked at the dark sky. "My Simo's life will not be ordinary. Little Lan, wait for your big brother. When I'm successful, I'll come back and help you and Tiger live forever. Maybe I'll even have a few nephews by then." Ha ha. The young man looked happy. The girl looked at the young man before her. After her parents died, her big brother had become her sky, protecting her. Her eyes became red as she lowered her head and softly said, "Brother can definitely succeed. Little Lan will wait for brother to come back. Okay. When you get married, big brother will prepare a lot of dowry for you so you will get married in style." The young man's gaze toward his sister was filled with tenderness. Lively music echoed across this ordinary village a few days later. The young girl was wearing a wedding dress and lifted up the curtain of the sedan. She looked out the corner of the sedan with a hint of anxiety in her eyes. Where did big brother go? Why has he not come back? All the neighbors had rushed over for the wedding in the village, making the atmosphere very lively. There were also children playing around the sedan, singing cheerful songs. The surrounding old people were all looking at this joyous event with kind smiles. No one had noticed that there were more than 10 horses approaching the village. There were more than 10 burly men with vicious expressions riding them, chatting with each other. The sounds of horses were like an earth dragon rumbling, and the vibrations spread to the distant village. Not far away stood a mountain, and this mountain was shrouded by clouds year-round. Rumor had it that there were immortals on this mountain. At this moment, there was a young man with a smug smile quickly walking down from the mountain path. He had a medicine basket behind his back containing a lot of herbs, even a ginseng. This ginseng was as big as a baby's arm. Its whiskers were extremely long and gave off a bit of spiritual energy. This king ginseng should be 100 years old. In order to get it, I spent several days of time. It should be enough to be little Lan's dowry. The young man's smile became even brighter. He was halfway down the mountain when he casually looked at the village. However, what he saw caused his body to tremble and he remained motionless. From afar, a monstrous fire was raging inside the village. The young man's eyes were filled with madness and a bad feeling filled his body. His body turned cold as he rushed down the mountain. Going up the mountain was hard, and going down was even harder. As he rushed, he immediately fell, leaving many bruises on his body and making him bleed. However, the young man ignored everything and continued to rush down. It must be just a fire. It must be just a fire. Nothing happened, nothing happened. The young man's body trembled as he rushed down like crazy. The medicine basket on his back trembled and some herbs even fell out, but the young man ignored it all as he rushed down. Along the way, he fell several times, and one time a branch opened a large wound in his right leg. However, he ignored it, and anxiety filled his eyes. After a long time, the young man reached the base of the mountain while gasping for air. He rushed down the path to the village. His heart was trembling and fear filled his body. Nothing is going to happen, nothing is going to happen. The young man's heart seemed to scream, almost begging. Everything before him was a blur aside from the road below his feet. He used all his strength to arrive at the main road outside the village. He only needed to travel half a kilometer more to see the village. However, although he couldn't see the village, he could see the monstrous fire. He could also vaguely hear mournful cries. The mournful cries were heaven-shaking, enough to cause the earth to tremble. "Little sister!" The young man quickly ran forward. Just at this moment, the trembling from the road became even more violent, and more than 10 horses rushed over. Some of the vicious men riding them had messy clothes, and their evil laughter could be heard. "Ha ha, I didn't expect this little village to have so many beautiful women. If not for having to complete the Lord's task, I would have really wanted to take a few. Yes, especially that bride, she was very good." These more than 10 horses quickly passed by the young man. One of the burly men immediately raised his whip and lashed the young man to side of the road. "Little bastard, you dare to block our horse gang's path? Scram to the side." The young man's body trembled and he let out a miserable scream. A powerful force slammed into his body and he was knocked out. The more than 10 horses passed, their laughter echoing. Time passed and night fell. The cold wind blew by. The young man on the side of the road trembled as he slowly opened his eyes. Confusion filled his eyes, and his face was ashen. He struggled to stand up. He muttered to himself and staggered as he ran toward the village. Nothing will happen. Nothing will happen to little sister. Nothing. After a long time, the already burnt village appeared before the young man under the moonlight. The young man trembled as he stared at the village before him in fear. He let out a miserable cry as he ran forward. "Little sister? Little sister? Little Lan." As he ran, the young man entered the village. The pungent smell of smoke still remained. The thick smell of blood still lingered in the air. On the ground, aside from dark blood, there were corpses with open eyes that looked up at the dark sky. This sight aroused an intense pain that drilled into his heart and almost made him collapse. These corpses were all people he was extremely familiar with. A majority of the surrounding houses had been burnt. Only the bright sedan was not burnt. Compared to the burnt houses, its bright color was too shocking. The young man bit his lower lip. His body trembled and he was filled with indescribable panic as he walked into the burnt house next to the sedan. A body had fallen there. It was Tiger. Beside Tiger was the body of a woman. It was Tiger's sister, Hong Hong. The young man almost collapsed as he trembled while walking deeper into the room. He saw his little sister. The burnt room still had a few beams standing, and a piece of white silk tied around the neck of a miserable female corpse was hanging from the beams. The female corpse was a mess and blood was coming out of her orifices. Her eyes were filled with confusion as she looked into the distance, waiting for her loved one. The young man looked at the female corpse and coughed out a mouthful of blood. "Little sister." His mournful voice echoed through the night of this desolate and death-filled village. It lingered for a long time. Don't cry, little Lan, be good. Big brother won't sleep anymore. I'll get that purple orchid for you, okay, so don't cry anymore. Little Lan, this is the 100th time you've asked me where Mom and Dad went. Didn't Big Brother tell you they went somewhere far away? They will catch up, watch Lan grow up, and watch Lan get married. Don't cry. Since you don't like Tiger, then forget it. Big Brother isn't after Tiger's big sister like you say. Big Brother's dream is going to become an immortal. Little Lan, wait for your Big Brother. When I'm successful, I'll come back and help you and Tiger live forever. When you get married, Big Brother will prepare a lot of dowry for you so you will get married in style. The young man shed tears of blood as he fell. He looked at his little sister with his hollow eyes. Several days later, the young man buried all the corpses in the village and buried his sister alone up in the mountain. It was very high up and there were a lot of purple orchids flowering there. If one sat in the flower field, they would see the whole world. His little sister hadn't died from abuse, she had hung herself. The young man kept the piece of white silk she had hung herself with. For a moment, he felt that his little sister's soul was inside this white silk. When he left the village, he looked back and took out the white silk. A voice as pretty as a bell echoed in his ears. Big Brother. Big Brother, wake up. Look over there, there is a bunch of purple orchids. Big Brother, where did Father and Mother go? Lan misses them. Big Brother. The young man bit his lower lip until it bled, and a few drops of blood fell down onto the white silk. After it spread out, it turned into a plum flower shape. Horse gang, there was monstrous hatred inside the young man's eyes as he walked further and further into the distance. Big Brother, I'll wait for you to come back. Time passed, and in a flash decades went by. The talent of the young man was beyond his own imagination. Although it wasn't the best, it was still shocking. He had entered the heaven-breaking sect, and with the determination an ordinary person wouldn't have, he became the leader among the junior generation. In the horse gang's base, a total of 1,400 members were killed in one rainy night, no one was spared. Even the horses were slaughtered. About 7 or 8 of the old members suffered the most before their deaths. The pain they suffered wasn't inflicted through ordinary means, and they howled for almost half a month before they finally died. Their souls had been extracted and they had suffered from being refined, unable to enter the reincarnation cycle. However, Simo still felt pain similar to needles stabbing through his heart. The culprits that had assaulted his little sister had died many years ago. From using Soul Search, he had found that the culprit hadn't experienced much suffering, and he was unwilling to let this go. After returning to the sect, another 100 years passed. Simo had reached the nascent soul stage and had become the strongest among the younger generation. He caught the eye of the heaven-breaking sect master and was accepted as the sect master's disciple. In the winter, Simo descended from the sect once more. He used a spell to calculate the reincarnation of the culprit and began a slaughter. What kind of hatred could cause someone to hunt down the culprit even after the culprit had already died and gone through the reincarnation cycle? Time passed. Wang Lin saw all of this inside Master Simo's memory. He silently pondered. He also saw tens of thousands of years later, when Master Simo watched his fellow sect members die in the seven-colored realm. His body was hit by the seven-colored nail and he was taken away by the sovereign. I, Simo, although kicked from the heaven-breaking sect, am a member of the inner realm. How could I become the dog of the outer realm? How could I give up everything just to survive and give in to the temptation of reaching the third step? If I die, I die? An ancient voice came from the world and entered Simo's mind. Not only can this old man prevent you from dying, I can even reform your sister. I can't bring her back to life, but I can allow her to stay by your side for an eternity. If your cultivation is successful, perhaps you will meet someone who can resurrect her. If you die now, everything will be gone. Simo's mind trembled. Come with this old man. From now on, you're no longer the inner realm Simo, but this old man the sovereign subordinate. I give you the name Master Simo. Inside the Emperor furnace, Master Simo's eyes were a blur as tears fell. The nail-sized fire between his eyebrows gradually spread and occupied his forehead. Outside the Emperor furnace, Wang Lin was sitting on top of the furnace. He opened his eyes under the gazes of the surrounding cultivators. His eyes were filled with confusion. After a long time, Wang Lin let out a sigh and stood up. He stepped forward and waved his hand. The Emperor furnace trembled and dissipated. Master Simo's figure was revealed. Wang Lin didn't deliberately leave anything in Master Simo's memory, but he left some thoughts. He had given up on refining Master Simo. This refining perhaps wouldn't succeed as Master Simo still had many treasures. This battle would have no purpose if it continued. Master Simo stood in the air and pondered for a long time. He waved his right hand and a woman disappeared into his sleeve. With Master Simo's cultivation level, he vaguely realized what had just happened. He looked at Wang Lin with an extremely complicated gaze. Please tell me. Was her word from before? From your spell or? I also don't know. Wang Lin let out a sigh. If I was Simo and his sister was Wan, how would I choose? Wang Lin was afraid to think of the answer. Maybe it would be the same answer he had given Simo, or he already had the answer. Master Simo left. Grandmaster Yun Luo went with him, and the two of them disappeared from the great Emperor planet before Wang Lin's eyes. There was no result in this battle. It was outside the expectations of all the cultivators here, including the old Vermillion Bird. However, with his powerful cultivation, he had vaguely noticed some things. Although this was the case, it wouldn't hinder the rise of Wang Lin's prestige in the Fallen Land. In the eyes of the cultivators here, just the battle was already enough for them to see Wang Lin as someone who could face a third-step cultivator. The Fallen Elder selection that had been interrupted continued, but none of this was related to Wang Lin anymore. In the Fallen Land, the abandoned planet Liu Jinbiao and Shuligua were on had been carefully searched by the people of the Fire Sparrow clan. For the Fire Sparrow clan, the trial being held on the Great Emperor planet was a wonderful opportunity for them. As they carefully searched, the Fire Sparrow clan found Liu Jinbiao, who was in closed-door cultivation in the deepest part of the planet, and his guardian, Shuligua. After a vicious battle, Liu Jinbiao was captured and secretly sent out from the Fallen Land to meet with the Fire Sparrow clan's ancestor, who was waiting outside. Liu Jinbiao's expression was gloomy and he didn't speak at all. However, he gave off the aura of the master of a generation. An invisible aura from someone who had held power for a long time and could kill thousands of people with just one word. When Liu Jinbiao was brought out from the Fallen Land, the ancestor of the Fire Sparrow clan, who had carefully stayed outside and didn't dare to enter, revealed a look of ecstasy. He took a step forward, ignoring the worship of the Fire Sparrow clan, and his right palm turned into fire that directly slammed down on Liu Jinbiao. Liu Jinbiao's expression didn't become panicked. His eyes contained an ancient gaze as he coldly stared at the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor. His calm gaze caused the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor's mind to tremble. This aura and pressure only belong to someone who has held power for a long time. If this person really is the Vermillion Bird, he should be like this. With a cold snort, the ancestor's right hand landed on Liu Jinbiao's body. Fire rushed into his body, and after the fire swept through, he frowned. Liu Jinbiao sneered and said, "Little Fire Sparrow clan, you sneak attack me when this old man is seriously injured. Just like your ancestor, mere clowns." The Fire Sparrow clan ancestor's eyes lit up and some of this doubt dissipated. When he checked Liu Jinbiao's body, he found that there wasn't much fire inside. When he heard Liu Jinbiao's words, although some of his doubt had faded, it wasn't enough. He waved his right hand and a wound appeared on Liu Jinbiao's right hand, and a large amount of blood flowed out. This blood was taken by the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor and he formed it into a ball. After smelling it, joy appeared in his eyes, and after hesitating a bit, he devoured it. When the blood entered his stomach, it turned into a powerful fire force that erupted inside his body. An illusion immediately appeared behind the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor. A fire bird filled with fire opened its wings, and before it was a smaller Vermillion Bird. This Vermillion Bird seemed seriously injured and was blurry. After fighting with the fire bird for a while, the fire bird devoured the Vermillion Bird. After devouring the Vermillion Bird, the fire around the fire bird erupted and it began to change. It became more and more like the Vermillion Bird. Good. It indeed is a Vermillion Bird. The fire sparrow clan ancestor was filled with ecstasy. He laughed as his right hand landed on Liu Jinbiao's head. The fire sparrow clan ancestor's cultivation level was extremely high, so he was naturally cautious and paranoid. After testing several times, although he was sure, he still used the soul search spell. In his view, everything in this world could be false, only soul search was true. Fire rushed toward his right hand, which was on top of Liu Jinbiao's head, and he began soul searching. Memories flashed across his mind, and a moment later, the fire sparrow clan ancestor revealed a satisfied smile. Although there were still some doubts, this person was definitely the 6th generation Vermillion Bird. He waved his sleeve and took Liu Jinbiao away. In a flash, they disappeared without a trace as he used a powerful spell to bring Liu Jinbiao back to the Fire Sparrow clan headquarters. The moment the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor took Liu Jinbiao away, Wang Lin, who was sitting next to the lake the old Vermillion Bird was fishing the dragon in, suddenly opened his eyes, and his eyes shined brightly. Liu Jinbiao's Tao of Deception is really brilliant, even the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor has been cheated. Now I need to prepare and wait for Liu Jinbiao to be brought into the Fire Sparrow clan's holy land. Wang Lin's eyes shined as his hands formed seals and restrictions surrounded his body. More and more restrictions appeared until they formed a formation around him. This formation had the ability to teleport Wang Lin away using a special method. At dusk, Wang Lin opened his eyes and calmly said, "Ancestor, Junior has a servant in the fallen land named Chong Big Red. I hope can take care of him on my behalf." The old Vermillion Bird was sitting beside the lake with a fishing rod in his hand and a jug of wine placed beside him. After hearing Wang Lin's words, he looked back with kindness in his eyes. "Are you ready?" Wang Lin nodded. "There are still a few more treasures to refine, then I just need to wait for the other side to activate the formation." The old Vermillion Bird put down the fishing rod and took a drink from the jug. Then he said, "I have already passed the method of controlling the fire dragon to you. It will be extremely dangerous once you leave. I don't know when we will meet again. If you have any other requests, you can ask." Wang Lin silently pondered and looked at the old Vermillion Bird. Although Wang Lin had only known him for a few days, the old Vermillion Bird had selflessly helped him and protected him, which made Wang Lin feel warmth. Now that they were going to part, Wang Lin felt sadness. When the old Vermillion Bird saw Wang Lin pondering, the kindness in his eyes became even stronger and he smiled. "If there is a chance, the two of us will meet again. Don't be unwilling to leave, like a child. I hope that you can shock me again next time we meet." Wang Lin looked at the old Vermillion Bird before taking a deep breath and saying, "Ancestor, Junior wants the cultivation method of the ancient soul restriction from the arena." "You want that ancient soul restriction?" The old Vermillion Bird pondered a bit and slowly said, "The ancient soul restriction is something the first generation ancestor stole. Even I don't have the cultivation method. Forget it, I'll just give it to you to protect yourself. If you have the time, you can study it and perhaps, with your comprehension, you can learn something." As the old Vermillion Bird spoke, his right hand reached at the sky. The earth far away rumbled and the sky changed colors. Clouds scattered and a ghostly light flashed. A giant tortoise beast appeared in the sky. The tortoise had an indifferent gaze as it lowered its head to look down at the old Vermillion Bird. The old Vermillion Bird formed a seal and pointed at it. The giant tortoise lit up and began to shrink. The smaller it got, the brighter it became. Soon, the giant tortoise turned into a palm-sized tortoise shell. The ghostly light was like moonlight, and it shrouded the sky. With wave of his hand, the old Vermillion Bird sent the tortoise shell toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin took it and put it away after looking at it. He clasped his hands at the old Vermillion Bird and was about to speak when he was interrupted by the old Vermillion Bird. "You don't need to thank me. How can an elder giving their junior something require the junior's thanks? If you're really grateful, help this old man with something." The old man let out a dry cough as he spoke. Please speak, ancestor. As long as Junior can do it, I'll get it done. Wang Lin's voice wasn't loud, but it was filled with determination. The old Vermillion Bird's face turned red as he put down the fishing rod and rubbed his hands together. Your Vermillion Bird has awakened 4 times, and you're already qualified to give out the Vermillion Bird mark. This old man hopes that when you chose the 7th generation Vermillion Bird. This? Wang Lin looked at the old Vermillion Bird, waiting for him to finish speaking. This? You have to pick a good candidate. You can't pick one without self-restraint, do you understand? The old Vermillion Bird winked. Wang Lin frowned and didn't understand too much. After pondering a bit, he nodded and said, Ancestor can rest assured. When Junior picks the 7th generation Vermillion Bird, I'll be very careful to not let the matter with the 3rd generation Vermillion Bird happen again. This old man doesn't mean this, the old Vermillion Bird rubbed his hands as he gnashed his teeth. This old man means that when you pick the 7th generation Vermillion Bird, you can't pick a flirtatious individual. Alas, why don't you understand? Isn't your comprehension pretty high? Wang Lin was startled for a moment and nodded with a puzzled look. Okay, Junior will not choose someone too flirtatious as the 7th generation Vermillion Bird. After all, it is not good to be too greedy for beauty as a cultivator. The old Vermillion Bird's eyes widened and he shouted, It's not about being too greedy for beauty, he can't covet for any beauties at all. Alas, where did all your comprehension go? Do you have to make this old man say it directly? Okay, you better choose the 7th generation Vermillion Bird from children to save the effort of his origin soul's yarn being broken, which would make him unable to cultivate this old man's cultivation method. That's right, pick a child, and the next time you come, bring him here. Remember to make sure his origin soul's yarn hasn't been broken. It's not me scolding you, but look at you. You're so young, and not even at this old man's cultivation level. You have to know that over the countless years, not a bit of my origin soul's yarn has dissipated. I really don't understand juniors like you, what's so good about duo cultivation? This old man has never duo cultivated with anyone, yet I am energetic every day, not to mention how happy I am. Wang Lin was startled for a moment as he stared at the old Vermillion Bird. He was left speechless and could only nod with a wry smile. The old Vermillion Bird let out a big sigh in his heart. He had put all his hopes on Wang Lin. After seeing Wang Lin nod, the old Vermillion Bird coughed and said, This old man's spell can only display its full power when used by someone who kept their origin souls young. It's not that I have some sort of special hobby. This old man won't make you help you for nothing, I'll teach you a spell. This is one of the 3 strongest spells of my Vermillion Bird clan. It was passed down by the ancient celestial sovereign. Although your origin soul's yarn is broken, you can still cultivate it. This spell is too powerful and will burn your lifespan, so don't use it carelessly, but it should be able to save your life. This video will end here.